The movie opens with a news broadcast explaining the Crippen virus, a modified measles shot designed to cure cancer. Dr. Crippen is featured in an interview discussing her groundbreaking discovery and revealing that all cancer patients treated with her cure have fully recovered so far. The scene shifts to 3 years later, revealing New York City as an empty, desolate landscape devoid of human life. Grass covers the roads and buildings, abandoned cars line the highways, and an eerie silence pervades the city. It appears that the apocalypse has arrived. Robert Neville drives through the deserted city, accompanied by his dog Sam. A herd of deer suddenly leaps across his path, prompting him to give chase at high speed. He attempts to shoot the deer, revealing that he's on a hunt. The deer split up, running down a road blocked by abandoned cars, and Neville continues the pursuit on foot, trying to catch one. As he rounds a corner and gets a deer in his gun sights, a lion, presumably escaped from the NYC Zoo, beats him to the kill. Torn, Neville hesitates, unsure whether to shoot the lion and its family, who also enter the scene, or leave the deer to them. At that moment, his watch alarm starts beeping and he departs with Sam. Back at Neville's home, a typical American detached house that looks like it's in the middle of a war zone, Robert and Sam spend a seemingly normal evening eating processed food and watching TV. After a bath, Neville secures every door and window with massive steel shutters. He sleeps in the bathtub with Sam, rifle in hand, as the sounds of screaming fill the air outside. We then flash back to the beginning of the apocalypse. In his dream, Robert recalls how his wife Zoe, their daughter Marley, and their puppy Sam tried to leave New York. Being a military doctor, Robert, dressed in a military uniform, decides to stay behind to combat the virus. He had urgently informed his family that Manhattan was being quarantined and needed to get them out while waiting for a solution. Marley, in an attempt to comfort him, made butterflies with her hands. The dream abruptly ends as Neville wakes up to his lonely reality. At his fortress-like home, Robert exercises with Sam before heading down to the basement, where he maintains a small but advanced laboratory. It's evident that he has been working on developing a vaccine for the virus that decimated most of humanity. He examines several test subject rats that received a trial vaccine. While some rats continue to exhibit aggressive behavior and a few have died, one, labeled Compound 6, shows promising signs of reduced aggression and slight pigmentation return. Concluding that the potential vaccine, known as GA Series Serum 391, is ready for human trials, Robert prepares for the next phase. Later, Robert gears up and ventures out with Sam. He passes by a DVD store where he engages in conversation with mannequins he has arranged, his only semblance of human contact. It's clear he's devised this game to stave off the encroaching madness. Continuing on, he explores nearby condo flats for supplies. In one room, he finds a bed surrounded by plastic wrap, and in another, 2 cribs. The pain in his eyes reflects his empathy for the loss suffered by others. Later, a radio message created by Neville broadcasts over all AM frequencies, declaring his survival and inviting other survivors to meet him at the docks of the bay daily at noon. Sam perks up and alerts Robert to another deer. They track it into a dark, abandoned building, with Sam following closely behind. Robert, aware that dark seekers tend to stay in dark areas during the day, proceeds cautiously with his flashlight. He makes his way upstairs and discovers the dead deer. As he continues searching, he accidentally illuminates a group of dark seekers huddled in the dark. They do not notice him, allowing him to continue his search. He eventually finds Sam hiding under a table, visibly frightened. Unbeknownst to him, a dark seeker is behind him, feasting on the dead deer. Robert dispatches it quickly and they both flee. Sam and a group of dark seekers chase after them, nearly catching Robert until he jumps out of a window into the sunlight, which quickly kills the pursuing dark seekers. Robert and Sam reunite safely, and Robert devises a unique booby trap to capture one of the dark seekers. He draws blood and smashes a vial on a tarp laid out in the abandoned building. Moments later, it activates and traps a female Darkseeker, rendering her unconscious. This action doesn't sit well with the Darkseekers, especially their leader. Robert takes the female Darkseeker back to his lab and administers the GA Series Serum 391 vaccine. Initially, there are positive signs as her breathing becomes more human-like and her temperature drops. However, she suddenly becomes agitated and goes into a frenzy, eventually flatlining. Robert administers another unknown shot, possibly an adrenaline shot, which revives her. Frustrated, Robert gives up for the day and goes downstairs to record a video diary explaining the day's events. In his recording, he reveals that he is immune to the virus, but he has determined it impossible to transfer that immunity to others. We then flash back to Robert and his family navigating through crowds of people in Manhattan, attempting to escape due to his military duties. They manage to reach the front of the line where Zoe and Marley board a helicopter to safety. Before leaving, Marley tells baby Sam to protect Daddy and hands Robert the dog. He waves goodbye and then wakes up. The next morning, Robert realizes it's his birthday. When he goes to the video store, he finds his mannequins have been moved. Robert and Sam set out for a day of fun together. While driving, Robert spots Fred, one of the mannequins from the DVD store. Sitting in the middle of the street, he becomes enraged and loses control, pulling out his gun and shooting the mannequin. As he approaches the deceased mannequin, he steps into a puddle that triggers a trap, grabbing his leg and hanging him upside down. He hits his head on the ground and is knocked unconscious. Hours later, Robert wakes up to the beeping of his watch, reminding him it's time to go home. Luckily, he has a pocket knife and uses it to free himself, accidentally stabbing his leg in the process. Robert notices the sun starting to set and crawls towards his car. Sam notices something and alerts Robert to the alpha male, the leader of the Darkseekers, with his trio of infected dogs approaching. The alpha male releases the dogs, but they are burned by a barrier of sunlight. The barrier lasts only a few seconds, allowing the infected dogs to charge at Robert and Sam. Sam defends Robert, taking on one of the dogs, while Robert grabs his pistol from the car and shoots another one dead. As he tries to shoot the third dog attacking Sam, he is interrupted by the first dog trying to get back up. Sam tackles it, allowing Robert to shoot it down. Relieved, Robert notices Sam has been bitten and badly beaten. Back at home, Robert lays Sam on a table and injects her with an experimental vaccine. The vaccine fails to help Sam, her hair begins to fall out and she tries to bite him. Heartbroken, Robert is forced to strangle Sam to put her out of her suffering, tears streaming down his cheeks as he says goodbye to his only friend. He then buries her in the streets. The next day, Robert buries Sam and drives around, feeling lonelier than ever. As nighttime falls, Robert embarks on a suicidal mission for revenge, driven by grief for his lost girl. He drives his SUV at high speed into the hordes roaming the streets at night. He sets up a decoy to lure all the Darkseekers, then attempts to run them over. Things take a turn for the worse as his car sustains heavy damage. The Darkseekers surround his car, pounding on it and flipping it over. The alpha male Darkseeker peers in, ready to attack Robert, when suddenly a bright light shines on him and he blacks out. During this blackout, he dreams once more of the past, this time of the helicopter his wife and child used to escape New York. As they take off, a nearby helicopter is attacked by infected and crashes into theirs. He wakes up in his house to find Shrek playing on the TV and stitches in his knife wound. He's been rescued by Anna and her son Ethan, who had heard Robert's radio message and found him the previous day. While eating, they chat and explain they found him through his daily radio broadcast for nearby survivors. Anna informs Robert they're heading to Vermont to a colony for sanctuary, but Robert refuses to believe such a place exists and becomes upset. Later, quoting Shrek, he heads to his lab to inject the female test subject with the potential vaccine once more. Night falls and Robert, asserting there is supposedly no god, and Anna hear a horde of Darkseekers on their way. Robert finds they tracked them home last night and spots them outside. Robert quickly activates spotlights to deter the Dark Seekers, but they destroy them all. He grabs a detonator, setting off multiple bombs outside, killing many of them. Robert finds Anna and Ethan, but the alpha male Darkseeker appears, biting Robert and attacking him. He retrieves his assault rifle, scaring the alpha male away, then kills another Darkseeker who was on the roof. They head to the front door, only to see masses of Darkseekers approaching. Robert urges them to get to the lab, where they hide in a room surrounded by thick glass. They notice the female test subject returning to her human self, showing promising results from the vaccine. Robert tries to persuade the Darkseekers to let him save them, but they remain indifferent. The alpha male starts banging his head against the glass, slowly creating a butterfly-shaped crack. With memories of his daughter flooding back, Robert hurriedly prepares the vaccine and administers it to Anna. He then places them in a coal chute, retrieves a photo of his family from a drawer, and holds a grenade, pulling the pin. Just as the alpha male breaks through, they run side by side, detonating the grenade and perishing together. The next morning, Ethan and Anna arrive at a survivor colony in Vermont. As the doors open, they reveal a thriving community, confirming its reality. In the final scene, Anna hands over the cure,